Hey there, and welcome. We're going to talk about something that affects a huge number of people but is often, kind of brushed aside or just completely misunderstood, and that's chronic constipation. We're going to break it all down in a way that's easy to understand, supportive, and hopefully really, really helpful.
Right off the bat, I want to say this. If this is something you're dealing with day in and day out, that feeling of frustration, the discomfort, maybe even feeling like nobody really gets it, that's all real. It's all valid, and I promise you, you are so far from being alone in this.
All right, so here's our game plan for this explainer. First, we'll talk about what this really is, why it's more than just being constipated. Then we'll get into the two main types. After that, how do doctors even figure out what's going on? Then, the good part, your path to relief. And finally, we'll wrap up with how to talk to your doctor about all this. Let's dive in.
Okay, so first things first, we have to get this idea out of our heads that this is just about not going to the bathroom enough. It is so much more complex than that. It's really about the entire experience.
So from a medical standpoint, when we say chronic, we're talking about symptoms that have been sticking around for at least 3 months. And here's the really important shift in thinking. It's not just about frequency. It's not about the number of days you do or don't go. It's about the quality of the experience, the how you go. So how do you know if what you're dealing with fits the bill? Let's just run through a little checklist. Do you find yourself straining a lot, like more than a quarter of the time? Do you often feel like you're just not done? Or maybe even feel a sense of like a physical blockage? If a couple of these are a regular part of your life, well, you're likely in that clinical picture.
And if you were nodding along to that last slide, you are in very, very large company. We're talking up to 20% of people in North America. That's 1 in 5. It's actually one of the most common reasons people see a doctor for a digestive issue, which just shows you how big of a deal this really is.
Now here's where it gets really interesting, because not all chronic constipation is created equal. To help make sense of it, we're going to use a really simple analogy. Think of your digestive system, specifically your colon, as a big highway.
Essentially, there are two main types of problems you can have. You can have a slow highway problem, where all the traffic along the entire road is just crawling along, or you can have a blocked exit ramp problem, where traffic gets to the very end just fine, but the ramp is closed, causing a massive backup. Let's break those down.
Okay, so slow transit constipation is pretty much what it sounds like. The muscles in your colon that are supposed to be pushing everything along, well, they're just not doing it with enough oomph. It's like a system-wide traffic jam. The problem isn't at the end, it's with the entire highway itself moving in slow motion.
Then you have the blocked exit ramp. The technical term is functional outlet obstruction, or sometimes dyssynergetic defecation. Don't worry about the big words. All it means is that everything arrives at the end of the line ready to go. But the muscles down there, your pelvic floor, which is supposed to relax and open the gate, they do the exact opposite. They tense up. It's a coordination problem, almost like hitting the gas and the brake at the exact same time.
So you can probably guess that the treatments for a slow highway and a blocked exit ramp are going to be totally different, right? That's why getting the right diagnosis is, well, it's everything. So how do doctors play detective and figure out which one you have?
All right, let's start with the highway itself. How do we clock its speed? Turns out there's a pretty clever and simple test for that.
It's called a SITS marker study. Basically, you swallow a little pill that's full of tiny plastic rings that'll show up on an X-ray. Then, about 5 days later, you go in for a quick X-ray of your belly. The doctor just counts the rings. If too many of them, more than 20%, are still hanging out along the highway, that's a huge clue that things are moving way too slow.
Okay, but what if the highway speed seems fine? How do we check the mechanics of that all-important exit ramp?
For this, the tests are a bit more specialized. There are things like anorectal manometry, which measures the pressure and reflexes of those muscles to see if they're relaxing when they're supposed to. And another test called defecography, which is basically a live-action X-ray video that shows exactly what's happening with your muscles when you try to go. These tests give doctors a direct look at how that exit ramp is or isn't working. So, once the detective work is done and the diagnosis is clear, we can finally talk about relief. And this is the part that I really want you to hear. The right treatment is completely tailored to whether you have a highway problem or an exit ramp problem.
Now, the approach is usually step by step. Doctors almost always start with the basics, like lifestyle and diet changes. If that's not getting the job done, then we move on to medications or more specialized therapies. And just so you know, surgery is really only for very specific, very severe cases that haven't responded to anything else. It's a last resort. So if you have a slow highway, what do? The goal is to speed up traffic. This might mean more fiber. Although, for some people with a really slow system, that can just feel like adding more cars to an already packed freeway. So it's not for everyone. It also includes different kinds of laxatives and even prescription meds that are specifically designed to wake up those colon muscles and get things moving. But what if you have a blocked exit ramp? See, laxatives aren't going to fix that. It's not a speed problem, it's a muscle coordination problem, so the treatment is totally different. The number one treatment is pelvic floor physical therapy, often with something called biofeedback. It uses sensors to give you real-time visual cues to help you actually retrain those muscles to relax at the right time. And in some cases, injections can even be used to help those super tight muscles chill out. And that brings us to what might be the single most important part of this whole journey. This quote from one of the medical sources really says it all. The very first step is just having an honest talk with your doctor, understanding the why behind your symptoms, and getting rid of any fears you might have. It has to be a partnership.
So let's wrap this all up by talking about how you can take this information and feel a lot more confident when you go talk to your healthcare provider.
If you take away only one thing today, please let it be this. What you are feeling is real. It is not in your head. It has a physical cause. And really advocating for a clear diagnosis, finding out for sure if it's a highway or an exit ramp issue, is the most powerful step you can take toward finding a treatment that will finally work for you.
Okay, let's just quickly recap the big points. 1. Chronic constipation is a real, complex medical condition with specific symptoms. 2. It usually falls into one of two buckets, the slow highway or the blocked exit ramp. 3. There are specific tests to tell which one it is. And 4. The best treatments are targeted directly at the cause.
So I'll leave you with a little bit of homework. Thinking about everything we've talked about, what is the one question that you now feel ready to ask your doctor at your next visit? What's that first step you're going to take on your own path to relief? Thanks so much for spending this time with me.